Prying parents of Reddit, what secret of your child did you discover that made you wish you hadn't? That my then 14-year-old stepdaughter had a thing for anime porn. I mean, hey, do your Naruto and Pikachu thing. But damn, you're the daughter of two IT parents. Delete your browser history. As a prying child looking for confiscated video games, I discovered my mom hides my Game Boy way better than she hides her strap-on. A lot of nasty sex stuff in here, let me add some wholesome memes to the mix. My 5-year-old daughter was riding in the back seat auto-babbling away. Eventually she said, "Daddy, I don't think you know this, but when I was young, I used to pick up little bits of things off the floor and put them in my mouth." Really? What kind of things, sweetie? Pieces of paper, fuzzies, things like that. A thoughtful look crossed her face, like she was trying to make a really difficult decision that would determine her fate. Finally she settled on honesty. And I definitely ate a flower once. We adopted one of our kids and he is biracial, while the rest of the family is white. Back when he was in 2nd grade, I found a writing assignment that the kids had to do. They essentially had to write 3 things they would wish for if they had a genie. One of the things he wrote was, "I wish I was white." That really hit me hard. I thought we had done enough to incorporate his racial, cultural background. It wasn't something we just ignored. It hurt to see that he didn't want to be who he was and that we had something to do with that. I hated that he felt that way and I hated that I found it. In hindsight, however, I am glad I found it. It opened up the dialogue even more and our son reveled that he wanted to move somewhere where he wasn't one of the only black kids. We did end up moving to a much more diverse area a few years later and I love it here. My son is now in middle school and is pretty comfortable talking about racial identity. As much as it hurt finding the paper, I think it was beneficial to get it out in the open. My kids aren't quite old enough to ruin my view of their innocence yet, but when I was a kid my grandma found my rather hefty porn stash under the bathroom counter one day while cleaning. Had my own small bathroom at the time. Got really embarrassed about it until I realized that she just straightened them out into a neat stack and never said a word about it to me to this day. Hell of an old lady. My nephew paid for porn with my credit card. I mean Pornhub and RedTube exist, man. Wasn't my child, but I used to work in a phone shop and I was transferring this kid's photos to his new phone. It was the first of that model I sold and little did I know it had a pre-installed app that showed a gallery on the second homepage after you swiped right. I was explaining how to use it and the default image the gallery function decided to select was a fully frontal nude photo of this poor kid's junk. Frankly, I didn't know where to look. He must have only been 13, maybe 14. I tried to subtly shift the phone away from his mum, but she had already seen it. He got an absolute public telling off in the middle of the store. Went on for some time while I was just awkwardly holding this phone with a photo of this kid's dick. Aw, good times, you get to see some interesting things on people's phones. They died in WoW against a low-level mob. My friend's dad walks into him watching porn and he accidentally clicked a gay porn advertisement. His dad awkwardly closed the door and will forever think his son is secretly gay. Not parent, not the kid in question. Probably worse though. I've told this story on Reddit before but no one really cared. I'll post the cliff notes anyway. Media class. Make group YouTube account. 3 of us share a YouTube account. Me 15. Her 16. Her, female, friend 16. Her younger brother 11. See where this is going? We go to her house to film. She stays logged in to YouTube on her home PC. Fast forward few weeks later in class. Searching YouTube, cloud history whilst connected to projector. Multiple and repeated, 11-year-old girls in white panties, video and search variations almost daily. Girl assume it's me and that I've been stealing her underwear whilst at her house. Not fun. Rumors spread. Teachers got involved. I denied everything. Got suspended. Threatened with being expelled. Ended up in counseling. Got billed for underwear I didn't steal too. Ended up leaving school few months later. All because that little shit hadn't discovered Pornhub. Not a parent, but when I was about 15 and in the process of fapping my mom came into my room without knocking. I was so shocked and at a loss for words, all I could say in reaction was, "I'm just checking if it works." Not sure how that could have changed the situation in any way. Lol. Needless to say she always knocked before coming into my room after that little incident. Not quite the question you asked, but my mum did find a letter I wrote to my BF, before the days of internet and texting, where I described how I was going to give him a blow job. Couldn't look her in the eye for weeks, even tried to pass it off as English homework. I was 14 at the time. 2 decades later, I still cringe when I remember it. Not really the prying type, but grabbed my 9-year-old daughter's tablet to show her how to get to her Gmail inbox using her web browser. Her email client was misbehaving. There were like 7 open tabs of porn, and her web search history had a "boys peeing" search. Shocked me and the wife. She's 9. That was when we decided it was time for a bit of anatomical and reproduction info. Which, of course, fell to me. My wife was thoroughly incapable. Edit, yes, she has her own email, and she emails me constantly while I'm gone during the week. I'm a truck driver. She also plays Skyrim and is a level 36 two-hand wielding whirlwind of a Khajiit. She also thinks Legolas from the Low TR movies is, in her words, super hot, so please, continue telling me how badly I'm failing at parenting. I was once really hungry, so I ate a banana in the shower and threw the banana peel on the shower floor. Dad found it later and asked me, quite angrily, what debauchery I was up to with a banana in the shower. He probably thought I was shoving it up my ass. Jesus, Dad, your poor son was just hungry. Leave me be, you old fuck. Actually found this out from a neighbor who frequented Omegle, I believe that's what it's called, when you webcam chat with strangers, and apparently stumbled onto my daughter and her friend putting on a show. Skin and all. I had no idea what to do. Removed. Golden shower vids on Pornhub in my 12-year-old's browser history. This one is a fucked up one. Brother 1 told my mom that he has been using Brother 2's computer to download music. This is the era of LimeWire, maybe 2007, and saw that Brother 2 had literally thousands of CP stuff on his computer. My brothers were in their early 20s. My mom checked Brother 2's computer and confirms that her child is downloading CP. What does she do? Nothing. She even bought Brother 2 another laptop when his became unusable due to the amount of viruses and malware. 2 years ago, the feds raided my mother's house. Plot twist. They were there for Brother 1. He started to download CP. She now has the honor of having both of her sons in prison and as sex offenders. Of course, she makes it all about herself. It's a shame. Brother 1 was the one who was supposed to make it. I used my dad's computer, and in his history was 2 lesbians wrestle. The winner fucks the loser. Fair enough. I was trying to take a picture on my nephew's phone and discovered he had a taste for intense hentai. Gotta hand it to him, though, he chooses quality stuff. I am not a prying parent, but I am a prying child. I discovered the kind of porn my mom is into by seeing what windows she had open in her phone's browser. She now knows what incognito mode is. Let it be known, kids have WTF moments about parents too. While I never pried, I was placing clean laundry into my son's dresser drawers when I spied several hot lesbo porn magazines. Problem was, they were mine. And I wasn't yet out of the closet. And I was still married to his dad. Yeah. My mum went into my MSN chat logs when I went to go live with my dad. I was not a savvy rebel, forgot to check, don't save, and found all my cybering. I was like 14. She said it was way worse than the "I hate my parents" type of stuff. That when my son spends the night at his best friend's house, he doesn't do so to hang out with his friend. Instead, he is hanging out with his sister, playing dress up, having tea parties, and giving each other makeovers. My wife and I are both retired, so we volunteered to house sit when my son, his wife and their 3 kids spent 6 weeks in Europe last summer. We discovered their video collection and were surprised to find their favorite pastime seems to be hosting gangbangs with my dill as the center of attention while our son films the action. We were floored but never said a word or let on in any way. They're both great people, loving parents and responsible professionals with great careers, and we're not going to let this kink change our opinion of them in any way. But we do kind of giggle and snicker to ourselves now when they ask us to have the grandkids over for the weekend. My 7 years old at the time, Google search history said, "Big bouncy boobs." I was proud, his mom was devastated. Back 5 or 6 years ago, my mom got an iPad and it was the treasure of the household. She didn't let anybody use it but always kept in her room on a charger, mostly because she's technologically inept. One day my 7-year-old brother was secretly playing Candy Crush on it when he heard my mom coming up the stairs. Not wanting to get caught with the iPad, he put it back in her nightstand plugged in and hid under the bed. What he failed to notice at the time was that not only was my mom coming up the steps, but my dad also. My dad at the time was close to 300 pounds, since then he's lost over 55 pounds. They open the door, jump on the bed, and proceed to do it with my little brother under the bed. Due to the weight of my dad and mom on the bed, his head was slammed into the ground with every thrust. Poor kid had to endure that for several minutes, and had to wait for the two of them to go to the bathroom so he could make his escape. He doesn't like to talk about it to this day, and I don't think he's told my parents about that. All he wanted was to play some Candy Crush. Used to torrent porn because that was all I knew to do. One day I open my torrent client and see it already downloading several bestiality vids. I assume it's just the client being spammy and gross, so I delete the files and proceed on to my vanilla fake tittied multi-gig downloads. The next day my dad sits me down and says I should watch out for the upstairs computer because it has been acting up, or something. Says he is aware it has downloaded some gross stuff, but he immediately says he knows it wasn't me. His confidence that it wasn't me surprises me, and that's when I realize it was his. I guess he saw that somebody deleted the files and panicked thinking that I was judging him, so he had to come up with a story about how the computer does that stuff on its own so I would know it wasn't him. If he hadn't said anything, that's what I would have assumed. My brother was trying to print out some trans porn pictures once, and the printer wasn't working. When my dad turned the computer on the next day, the picture immediately printed. Edit to all the people think I'm ashamed and this brother is actually me. It really wasn't. I'd own the shit out of this if it were me, and I'm pretty open about my sexual preferences. I don't have kids, but I found out a former roommate had a bizarre fascination with me, a few photos of me sleeping, and one of my boxers, unwashed and stashed away in her room. I noped the hell out of there shortly after. This is about parents, but I don't know when else I'll get to tell. One time in high school I came home on a night where I had said I would be staying at a friend's. Walked into the living room to see a porno on the 50 inches TV screen. But they weren't even watching, they were just chillin' and playing cards on the coffee table while a girl blew some guy in the background. I just go in the window or make ridiculous amounts of noise when I come in nowadays. My son paid for WinRAR. I found out they don't know how to use private browsing on the iPhone, all history saved. This disappointed me more than the actual history. Not a prying parent, but I am a nosy son. I went through my mom's phone once in my entire life and I've regretted it since. When I was about 10, I was on my mom's phone and looked at her text messages with my dad. She asked him if he wanted her to bring anything home for dinner and he replied, "Pussy." Never touched my parents' phones since.